What was a life-changing mistake you made? Quitting a great job with huge advancements when I was 19 because a girl. The job took me out on the road for 2 to 3 weeks at a time and I didn't want to leave her for that long at the beginning of our relationship. Fuck, that was dumb. It took me 8 years to make that much money again, and that girl dumped me after 5 months of dating. Oh man, that hurt to read. Dating someone who was incredibly toxic for way too long. I don't regret it, though. It taught me a lot about what not to do and how to make sure I'm doing what's best for myself. Did it for 3 years, got out last year. Haven't had a day full of worry, anxiety, or even feeling all that down since. Really makes you realize things weren't good. Hindsight, for ya. Cigarette? Yeah man. Why not? I smoked for a little over 20 years and man was it hard to quit, especially because I enjoyed it. I was finally able to kick the habit 4 years back and now I feel much better. I still get cravings from time to time, but I'll never go back. Don't stop trying. In my mid-20s I was dating and living a wonderful woman, but I was extremely immature and did a terrible job of keeping my life in order and keeping up decent employment. She gave me so many chances to get my shit together, but time and time again I would just be a useless lump and she eventually broke up with me and kicked me out. I had to go live with my parents. I completely changed after that. Video games became something I did after all my responsibilities were met, not something that kept me from them. I stopped smoking weed for a while so I could land a reliable job, even though the one I found ended up not drug testing me. I started saving money because I couldn't stand living with my parents. Eventually my ex and I reconnected and we eventually moved back in together. We ended up getting a new place that was ours. I had moved into her place and things just kept getting better. We are now married and home we are winners, and I'm waiting to hear about an even better job opportunity. It's a shame we had to come to that for me to get my shit together, but it changed my life. You're lucky it went the way it did, because oftentimes you don't get that second chance. Glad it worked out for you man, now stay vigilant and keep up the good work. Trying to foster unhealthy relationships with a girlfriend, friend, or even family member out of a fierce sense of loyalty despite it being toxic to my life. Yup, I realized I was accommodating all sorts of bullshit in my life because I'm loyal to a fault. The turning point was realizing I'm a grown-ass adult and letting people push and pull me wasn't noble. It was just keeping me from enjoying my life and choosing where to go with it. I'm still loyal and forgiving. I just don't let myself be taken advantage of or manipulated anymore. Not texting my boyfriend later that Thursday after an argument. I was mad and didn't want to speak to him. When I finally texted him on Saturday, he had already been dead for 24 hours. I wish I had told him I loved him. Everyone says it's not my fault, but I will never know if I had reached out earlier whether that might have been enough to stop him. I'm never ignoring someone I love because of a petty argument ever again. Heading home after a nice motorcycle ride on a Sunday evening. Decide on a whim to take a small 10-minute detour because it was one of the last days of the year with nice weather. Crashed into the side of a van with 80 km/h that didn't give me the right of way. Spent 12 days in intensive care, ended up with persistent health problems and a reconstructed shoulder which left me partially disabled and unable to do sports, lift anything serious, etc. It was a nice ride though. Not noticing my own behavior. Thinking I've become a better person and the realization of my mistakes has changed my life. Self-reflection is hard but important. It's by far the hardest thing I have to do sadly. Accepting the position I work in now. Biggest mistake I have ever made. I'm more miserable than I have ever been in my entire life. In fact, fuck 2019 as a whole. This year's can kiss my ass. I'm done. You should just find something else and bail, Jude. Don't buy into the idea that you'll be untouchable if you leave a job after only 6 months. That's a bad situation though, and I've been there. I remember using like all my vacation days taking shitty, random days off in the middle of the week to go on interviews that didn't go anywhere. I should have tried to get help for my mental health when I was suicidal and not now when I'm just messed up, because now I'm not sick enough to get help through the public system and I can't afford to get it through the private system. Not wearing condoms twice. How did you not learn your lesson the first time? When I was saving to go to college, I was a painter. One day on the job, this woman at a house said her son was looking for someone exactly like me. Non-grad, hard worker, nice. She told me he was the CEO of X company. For reference, his latest contract involved a complete overhaul of the London Olympic Stadium ready for the 2012 Olympics. Needless to say, he's not a small fry. This guy came out of his way to talk to me. When I say out of his way, he fucking flew in from Germany. I didn't know that at the time. I also didn't know he was coming to see me. I just got told to go up to this office room, and there he was behind this 12-foot mahogany desk. Had a lovely chat with him, and he offered to take me on working directly under him, to be trained to take over in the coming years, because he wanted to retire before 40, and he had no kids. What the fuck did I say? I'm sorry, but X line of work has no interest to me. I really want to go down the animal care route. He respected that. But years later, living on my own, just getting by juggling my paid work and undergrad, I realized what a fucking mistake that was. Not a single mistake, but my habit of procrastination has definitely bitten my ass a couple times. I feel you, man, I do this constantly, and I need to cut the habit. But I keep on pushing it back, lol. You want them chronologically or alphabetically? Autobiographically? In the mid 2000s, I used to work a call center job while finishing up uni. It was a startup fintech type job. People got promoted quickly and they paid above minimum wage. But I was naive and didn't realize how backstabby some people could be to get ahead. I carpooled with who I thought was a friend until he started secretly recording our conversations in the car to curry favor with my managers. Thinking I was safe, I was honest about my feelings about certain things at work, and sure enough, he played the recordings to my bosses, and soon after I noticed a change in how I was being treated. They let me go with severance when I caught onto the fact that I was being asked to train my replacement. This led to about 10 months of unemployment with employment insurance and me finding a much better paying job. It was a blow, but I learned from it, and I'm glad I'm not stuck in what is ultimately a dead-end call center job, no matter how they spin job titles. Wow, what a snake. Not going to grab a bite with my dad just because I was too lazy to meet up with him there. A day later, he killed himself. Also, not being strong enough to see my dad before being burned, cremated. Sounds weird in my head. Will never be able to see him again. And having missed my chance for a final goodbye kills me every time I have time to think by myself. Thank you for making this thread. Really needed to vent. That's not something you have to regret. I saw my wife twice after she died, and I really wish I hadn't. Instead of remembering the vital, lovely woman she was, I just have this image of her pale and lifeless burned into my brain. I wish I had the courage to go against everyone else's wishes and keep the casket closed. Wasting 7 years with an idiot. Don't be so hard on yourself. I've wasted 31 years on an idiot and will continue until the day I die. Edit. Leaving this for proof of idiocy. Telling how I felt to my best friend. She didn't feel the same way, and from there it went badly, mainly because of how I handled the situation. Lost one of the most important people in my life that day. I did that as well a long time ago. Trust that you and she will be better on in the long run. Now that everything is out in the open, you'll move on. So will she, and you'll each find someone that is right for you. I know I did. Edit. Brain fart on typing. When my ex told me, "I'm not good for you, and I'm going to ruin your life," I should have believed him. When I was fresh out of school with a useless degree in creative writing and no experience, in the middle of the recession, I interviewed to be a marketing coordinator for a local fishing resort/marina that was also headquarters for a few dozen vacation resorts along the west coast. Pay was great. Job perks included free travel and food/accommodation at any of these resorts, and a fairly free-form job in creating print and web ads, blog material, doing some market research and interviews. It sounded super fun. I aced the interviews and felt like a shoo-in based on how they were talking to me. I prepared for my life of luxury. They asked me to just throw together a quick ad concept. I was staying at my girlfriend's house when the request came in, and she didn't have Adobe CS. So I threw something together quickly in Paint. Yes, Paint. kind of assuming it didn't really matter since it was just a concept. It was terrible. They went silent, I didn't get the job, and I faced a difficult few years of racking up credit card debt, digging up freelance work, and mass applying to jobs that never contacted me back. I'm doing okay now, but I always wonder what things would be like if that had worked out.